The Kel-Tec KSG 12 point and click adventure is a bullpup pump action shotgun that is chambered in 12 gauge. It was first introduced in 2011, making this one of the newer guns in Phantom Forces. When I say newer, I mean recently produced and not recently added to the game. Is there much to say about this gun in real life? Not really. It has no groundbreaking records other than having 2 tubes to contain 14 shells, making its capacity comparable to magazine-fed shotguns like the Sega. In-game, the KSG is a shotgun that you get at a very early rank at rank 1. That's right. You get the gun right out of the bat just by playing the game. Then, you can turn your game into a point-and-click adventure. Just like the M60, anyone could wield such a devastating force. While the KSG isn't as old as the M60, it still saw alpha testing, making it almost as old as the game itself. Just like almost every other shotgun in the game, the KSG is overpowered at close to around mid-range. Because of this, most high-rank players don't like people who are using shotguns and feel disgusting when they use shotguns themselves. The KSG has the standard issue walk speed of 14 studs per second, so you will basically be running as fast as almost everyone else. Mobility is average. What about the reload? It's not bad for a shotgun. It takes 1.4 seconds to reload each individual shell. Mostly, you would fire around 4 to 5 shells before reloading, so that bumps it up to 5.6 seconds to 7 seconds. However, if you're ignorant about how many shells you have left and fired all 14 shells, you would have to suffer a lengthy reload of 20.9 seconds. I say 20.9 because it takes 1.3 seconds to load a round into the chamber. As long as you manage your shells properly, reload is fairly decent. Because this is a tube-fed shotgun, you have the ability to interrupt your tactical reload at any time you want, effectively cutting down the reload while being ready to engage the next enemy. I wouldn't recommend aiming down sights with the KSG regardless of what sight you use. Instead, hit T and use the alt aim feature. With this aim, you are able to look at your surroundings better without having to suffer the downsides of aiming down sights, with the exception of walking slower than usual. Now to move on to the damage values of the 12 gauge shell. Each individual pellet does a certain amount of damage. It has a maximum damage of 32 and a minimum of 17. The standard 12 gauge shell has 8 pellets, so if all of your pellets hit, you effectively do around 256 to 136 damage. However, this is only true if all of your pellets hit, which isn't guaranteed at distances over 50 studs due to the spread of the pellets. Unlike most guns in the game, the KSG has a headshot multiplier of 1.1. This is somewhat understandable, since you're shooting multiple small metal pellets at your enemies, and not actual bullets. All shotguns have a few different options of shells. There is the default shells, which has all of what I had said before. Pitchet, which increases accuracy and wall penetration in exchange for some damage. Birdshot, which gives you more pellets in exchange for accuracy and increased spread. Slugs, which basically turns your shotgun into a rifle. And rubber pellets, which increases maximum damage in exchange for minimum damage and 3 pellets. The KSG has a muzzle velocity of 1500 studs per second, but this doesn't matter, since you're most likely going to be spamming your shells at around close range. The KSG uses 12 gauge shells, which means that you are able to pick up ammunition from every shotgun in the game. Even with shotguns that don't use 12 gauge, it can't pick up ammunition from every other gun in the game. Do I need to say anything about the minimum time to kill? No. All it takes is one click from close to mid-range and the person that's on the center of your screen is dead. Now for the modifications. A sight of choice, since I personally don't use sights. No barrel attachments. However, if you want to flank your enemies, then I recommend a suppressor of choice to hide yourself from the radar. For lasers of choice, and flechette to increase wall penetration and accuracy. So how do you use this thing? The KSG is able to perform well in close to mid-range. However, that is the issue. Unless you use slugs, you won't be able to hit people at distances due to the spread of the pellets. I used to rush to the front with the KSG, hoping to take at least 2 people with me, but over the years, my playstyle had changed, and now I resort to flanking with the KSG. It's easy to catch people off guard, especially when they're focused on one thing. Unless he's a rank 200 plus player, Well, in that case, I'll attempt to take him out as soon as possible before shooting anyone else. If your enemy is around 100 studs away, you only need to click at him around 2 to 3 times to delete him. To sum it up, when you're playing a KSG aggressively, all you have to do is click on your enemies and they will magically disappear. And that is how you use the KSG 12 point and click adventure. Like if you find this useful, and subscribe for more Fanny Forces content.